Good evening and welcome to Community Issues, a Tapestry of Concerns. I'm your host, Alyce Smith Cooper, and this is actually a continuation of a show that we did previously. The opportunity to learn about the technology that's available to us today and the politics behind that technology is what we're going to be talking about tonight. This is my friend, Walter Davis, and he is a part of the Citizens Internet TV network. And this is Mera Szdendro. And Mera is our secret weapon. She's our more youthful component of this team to talk to you about what's happening with the technology that is so available to us today, but that some of us are really quite intimidated by and feel overwhelmed and not able to use. We're talking about internet primarily, but there's so many things that are going on with the internet. And Mera, why don't you talk a little bit to us about the kinds of exciting things that are happening where activism is concerned with the internet?
Well, there's a huge fight for net neutrality in DC and around the country. Telecom companies are trying to buy up the internet and to slow it down and to really regulate the content we have on there, the services and applications that consumers are able to find. And there's a lot of people are banding together, realizing that the internet is an unparalleled forum for communication, for freedom of expression, for business, and for innovation.
So slowing it down for the average consumer like myself, what would that mean?
That would mean if you're an entrepreneur and have a small site and you don't have enormous amounts of money like a larger website would, that people would be able to find your website a lot slower and would be able to download it a lot slower. So all the companies and all the corporations that have already we find in our communities are going to have really fast websites, and the smaller businesses and the activist groups are not going to be able to be found as readily as possible.
So that's sort of the creation of a caste in a way with the information highway is what we used to call it, the worldwide internet. Walter, how do you interact with this activist process insofar as letting people know about net neutrality and some of the other things that we have been speaking about, media reform and media justice?
Well, we embarked on a public information campaign with the San Diego County Community Coalition. So we're showing documentaries and a number of other movies to educate the public in terms of what's happening with regard to rolling our rights back. And so the Patriot Act had a lot to do with taking a lot of our rights away from us, but there are also movements within other government agencies to restrict our rights to have access to the internet. So that's what we're all about. We're about educating people, so they can make an informed decision and realize that we all have to become involved and become active to fight to maintain our rights on the internet.
So is this legislation that is currently on board, or is this an opportunity to let people know what could happen so that they could be proactive? Which is that?
An opportunity for people to know what could happen if they're not proactive. That there are assaults that continue to occur on a regular basis. They get defeated, then they come back again with something similar or the same fight. So this is an ongoing battle that a lot of people are simply not aware of.
Mera, you had the opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. not too long ago and participate in something that was pretty exciting to you. You want to talk about that?
Yes, I was in DC for only 4 days, and I was invited by Free Press Policy Group to go to the FCC to see a legislation against Comcast. They had been slowing down the broadband service for different sites that were activist and independent voices, and the American people sent in tons and thousands of comments saying, we don't want this, we want our internet to be free and open, and the American people won. Comcast was not allowed to slow down their service, but the FCC has decided that they want to deal with net neutrality on a case-by-case basis. So this is not going to be an overriding legislation that now it sets only a certain kind of precedent, but the history of net neutrality and internet laws has been always for open competition and leaving the internet open. It's only in 2005 that Bush has taken away the laws that that were protecting us from the network providers discriminating against information providers. So it's really during George W. Bush's time that suddenly the internet, now it's a free reigning for the telecom companies to take over and regulate our content.
Well, fortunately for us, as the people of the United States, and I think for the world, we had an opportunity to speak our voice in November, and to put someone else in office who has a different perspective. And I'm wondering if there's some movement afoot that would allow our current president to know what it is that we want insofar as the broadband experience and internet neutrality. Is there a law that's being formulated, or?
Well, Barack Obama knows what the American people want because his whole campaign was web-based. So he was able to hear what the American people needed because it was all going through the internet. Now he has just delegated $7.2 billion into the American Reinvestment and Recovery Act to expand broadband access and infrastructure. So, I mean, right now there are 50 million Americans who don't have the internet. A lot of these are low-income families, while there's 20 million Americans living in rural areas that the broadband services are not provided to them. So Barack Obama knows that the internet is the technology that we need in order to have economic freedom, in order to maintain American ingenuity. He says that he is dedicated to net neutrality, as well as Michael Copps, who is the FCC head chairman right now. So everyone is on board for net neutrality, seemingly. The American people really need to say, Barack Obama, please don't back down. We want our internet. We want free communication in America.
And that's how that campaign was run and how that office was won. So there are many people that know how to do that. I know that there are I get emails from people from various times, with Barack Obama's name on it and saying the things that are happening and where you can come together to forward the causes that you're interested in. Does the community coalition have that kind of ability to get news out to people and to have people to have a voice?
Exactly. We try to post those kinds of events on the community coalition. It's open to anyone to come aboard. So the various groups that are planning these activities can log on and they can post their event. In addition to that, with the Citizens Internet Television Network, we're making a very aggressive effort to get that information out. And in addition, our movie nights that we're hosting. So yes, we're making a very concerted effort to make sure that we can inform as many people as possible in terms of what's going on.
What exactly is media justice?
Media justice is making sure that all people in America have a voice. With the dwindling reporters and news agencies, there's only 13% of minorities running news agencies. That means that the news stories we're getting are not getting perspective of African Americans, Asians. We need to diversify in who is bringing us our news and who's bringing us viewpoints about what's happening, not just nationally, but also internationally.
Is there a movement afoot for more broadband radio stations in our communities?
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. There's a local community act right now being passed through the Congress that could open up over like 1,200 different low-power FM community radio stations. So that means a lot of voices, a lot of activist voices. You can have your own radio station and share with your community what you feel is most important.
Well, that for me would be storytelling and telling the stories that I feel are important for people to know about how to live. So I'm really interested in that. I'm very interested in that. And I know that in our community that we have had a long-standing radio station that has been broadcasting reggae music. Sister Makeda Dread has been doing that for many years. So there's that opportunity to have more of those in the community. So it's not just internet. I mean, there's the old-fashioned radio, which still is a way of communicating. So there's lots of opportunities for people to avail themselves of the communication that would allow communities to reunite, to come together for causes that are important for sustaining community for all of us.
And there's internet television and internet radio as well. So those are components that people are not generally familiar with.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, with internet television, people like you telling stories can actually go on the internet and have your own television shows for as little, or less than $10 a month. And you can do a PowerPoint sales presentation. You can tell your stories to children in South Africa using the internet. And your image would come on the left side of the screen, and you can turn the pages on the right side of the screen and actually tell a story to children in different countries. And the same is true of internet radio. You can broadcast over the internet and be heard worldwide right from your office and in your home.
I mean, and that's just really, that's easy to do. I mean, is the equipment really expensive?
The equipment is not expensive. If you basically have an internet connection, you have a microphone, you have a camera. The cameras are as inexpensive as $25. You can get a microphone for about $8 to $14 at Fry's Electronics, for example. So no, the equipment for this is not very expensive at all.
That's a night out at the movies. I mean, it's not that much money. Mm-hmm. So how do you learn how to use it?
Well, there are video tutorials available where you can actually learn to operate these things right in the comfort of your own home. I teach classes on the first Saturday of each month at the 18 Cultural Center that explore using alternative communications. There are a number of vehicles that are available. And YouTube, I mean, they have a lot of different videos on YouTube. Google, there's a lot of different places that people can go if they make the effort to learn how to use alternative communications.
I think making the effort is a part of what we experience as that kind of lethargy, that kind of entropy, that, just is something else to do in this busy world. We're so locked into our lockstep activities, and it isn't that they're not good activities, but they keep us so busy that it's like another thing to learn. How do you get past that mindset? You tell us. What do we do?
I think that we need to embrace the ability to learn new things and to really step into the digital revolution that's happening right now. And really, these are our communication devices. Since the beginning, of the FCC and during the 1930s, newspaper companies were trying to conglomerate newspapers and radio, and there's always been the people's fight to keep their information sources diverse and readily available. That fight needs to happen now, and we can't allow so many things to keep us busy. That's what they're almost there for. In order to keep us inside and overworked and completely exhausted, we have to feel empowered and work with our community and make our voices heard. Our opinions, no matter how we feel people are going to react to them, need to be heard right now, and we need to find solutions for the problems that we're dealing with, and it's going to happen from the bottom up.
Sounds like when they took away our drum as African people. That was our way of communicating. So when they took away the drum, they had a schism. They created a schism in our communicative ability. But we found other ways. And we sing the songs or clap our hands or stomp our feet or whatever it was that we needed to do. It sounds to me like it's time for us to have our drum back. That the internet and the radio stations are a way of us having our drum back. And it doesn't have to cost a great deal. We fritter away the amount of money that you're talking about, that we could have some hard equipment and be able to get our ideas across. If it's to our own families, I mean, some of these things that you're talking about, we could podcast, you have a virtual family reunion or a virtual family meeting, or the things that often need to take place for family life to continue. So especially when we have so many of our seniors that are living so much longer, and maybe they're incapacitated, their health is incapacitated, but the families are scattered. So, how do you have an opportunity to talk together about family? What are we gonna do about Big Mama? She's not been remembering things so well lately. And if one person does everything, then the rest of the folks in the family gonna have something to say. Come together. This is easy way to do that. Not to mention the aspect of media justice. I mean, how long have we been working for justice? To have a whole new industry and ability to communicate be taken away from us because we're sitting there and not paying attention?
That's exactly what's happening. And my mother is 94 years old. She lives in Birmingham, Alabama. I can sit down and have dinner with her. So I can be in my home in San Marcos and I can watch her in Birmingham and we can have a discussion and talk to each other while we're having dinner together. So you're not too old, you're not too young. My 9-year-old grandson does video teleconferencing sessions with little boys in London. And I'll come into my office and hear this British accent, and my 9-year-old grandson is talking to a little kid in London. So it's something that we need to embrace, and it's going to be taken away from us if we don't become very active, and it's extremely important. You know, people don't think about owning a television station. Why? Because it costs so much money. And so you got to have millions of dollars to have your own radio station and millions of dollars to have your own TV station. Now, within our grasp with the internet, each one of us can have our own ability to broadcast. We can have our family radio station. We can have a family television station, for that matter, and really take advantage. We have our drums. We just aren't using them.
Ah, how about that? There is such a thing, isn't there? Put the drum in the corner and let it collect cobwebs and never consider that you really have a vehicle for communication that is being underutilized or not used at all. Well, that puts a whole new wrinkle in the raisin, doesn't it? You know? and I'm so excited that you as a young person would have so much zeal for passion for this train of information that we're on, this stream of information. How did you come by such a passion?
Well, I've always had a passion for freedom of expression, and I think I've always wanted to find the truth, and I realize how the media has influenced us throughout history, whether it was the Bible, different books, graffiti, art. I love art. So I think that the more that we can diversify and just allow people to express themselves, the better our society can be.
Truth comes in lots of different ways from various spokespeople, from different publications, works of art. People learn in different ways. And it seems to me that the internet will allow us to have visual learning, auditory learning, the virtuosity of anything that can be done virtually. I mean, can be done on this side in reality, can also be done virtually with the internet. So that opens up a whole new arena of learning. The ability to learn things virtually that you may have had to, like learning how to drive a car or fly an airplane or things that you had to have hands-on in the past, you can get a pretty good grasp on using a virtual reality experience.
I was a ship driver in the Navy as well, so I learned to drive, ships that were more than 900 feet long using virtual mock-ups. So yes, it is very effective. You can learn very complicated things. And as I mentioned, video tutorials that teach people how to run their own internet TV station, for example.
Well, there's somebody out there that wants to be like Tiger Woods, wants to play an exemplary golf game, or like the Williams sisters, play an incredible game of tennis, or whatever it is that is interesting to them that they feel like is beyond them. You can go on the internet and find any of that stuff.
It's also a great way to build a better community, and a lot of people sometimes seem worried that they're going to get sucked into the internet, that it's going to, take up all this time. I really want to empower people and see the internet is really just a tool. We can go on meetup sites, we can find other people that are interested in whether it be learning how to play a good game of golf, or learning about different activist groups that are going on. We go on there, we join, we get the email, and then we go out into our community and out on the streets. That's the most important thing, that we use the internet as a tool, and we don't see it as something that is too difficult to understand or too time-consuming, but we use it in moderation.
Ah, That's a good M word. Moderation. You know, I think very often we are such an addictively oriented culture that we forget that we are in control, that we can pull back from things as we need to pull back from them.
Well, we can thank our advertising industry for that. And the television has kept that going. And all the networks are owned by advertisers who are just trying to kind of manufacture a reality so that we become better consumers. So we need to step outside the box, and we need to really be media literate about what we're watching. And we can't, let the advertising industry and this unsustainable consumer culture we're having right now regulate where we're going in the future. We really have to be open-minded and really change.
Well, we are consumer oriented. I mean, and there's a certain generation that's probably not going to fully withdraw from that. And that I'm thinking about senior citizens at this point, really seniors, especially as their incomes shrink and their costs rise. It would seem to me that there's sites that we could go to on the internet that would allow people to learn how to let their money stretch. For instance, for food or for other commodities, ways to be able to access commodities at a more reasonable rate. I mean, that's the kind of thing that I know of, that many senior citizens that I know are concerned about. Is that something that you view as being something that's available to people via the internet?
Absolutely. There's so many how-to sites, and if you learn how to do something and you want to put it out there, you can start your own blog very easily. And you want to be able to have that forum to share your knowledge, and the internet really allows us that, which is why the fight for net neutrality is so important.
So, Big Mama, you can teach me how to make that sweet potato I have been dying for the recipe for, and I need to see you do it, because I know you don't have no recipe. You're doing a pinch of this and a cup of that, and I want to learn how to make that sweet potato pie or that macaroni and cheese, or how to make it so that it's healthier than it was when we were eating it before, when we put all those ingredients in it that weren't the best. And those are things that we can do. We can effect change for healthier living, for a more sustainable economy. And people need to have their own businesses. You just need to. You can't continue to expect that a crumbling economy is going to continue to support you. And it seems to me like this is a way that we can begin to learn some of those things.
Well, the good thing is that you can now video Big Mama on your camcorder and put that video up on your blog, on your family blog, so that not only you know how to make that pie, but it goes on the way down to your granddaughters, and they get that information just as well, and it's documented and it's there, so generations can go back and watch Big Mama make that pie, and this is where it came from. So most definitely, that's something that can be done. It's very effective.
Speaking of stories of generations, indigenous tribes and indigenous societies, their stories are really dying out, and there's so much information and even video clips. You go on to YouTube, you find different, South African dances and different cultural things that we really need to maintain and we really need to have a forum for. So I really urge people to go and check out Free Press and Google that, and see what kind of work they're doing in order to really maintain a strong, robust media reform movement in DC right now.
There's another thing that I know that people are interested in, and that is keeping their family tree, finding out who their ancestors were, and I know that there are places that you can access that on the internet. There's just so many applications, and I'm trying to think of the ones that I think that the folks that might be looking at this show would be interested enough to find a way, because I mean, there are computers with internet access at community centers,
Libraries.
at senior citizens centers, at libraries, and this is free access. You don't even have to have your own computer. But I do know that there are places that will give away computers, particularly to certain income levels or certain age groups. There are reconditioned computers usually that they will give away to people. There is a way if there is a will. And I guess that's what this show is all about tonight.
And we're collecting computers at the 18 Cultural Center, so they will be available as a bank for people to come in and use computers, and especially utilize during our computer lessons that we're offering there as well.
You want to say the address of the 18 Community Center again?
Right, it's 8, the number 8, and then the word teen, T-E-N, 3925 Ohio Street, San Diego. It's in North Park, just to the east of 30th Street and just north of University.
So right there in the North Park area, pretty easy for people to get to via the freeways. I'm so glad we've had this time together. I'm really glad that you came, and I know that you came as a result of the community meetups, and it's been great to meet you and to hear your story about even being able to email your family in Hungary and being able to stay in touch with them. It's very encouraging.
Absolutely. There's such a warm community here in San Diego. I've been here just for only 6 months, and there's so many resources and so many community gatherings that I really urge people within San Diego to come out and share their ideas. And you know, the progressive movement, it needs to grow, and the progressive thought is not going to die in San Diego, but we need to come and show up and make real change, whether it be things pertaining to Prop 8 or whether it be media reform, or whether it be saying no to GMOs, you know, and making this a better and healthy society. So we need to really share our ideas and be a coalition, come together.
What's a GMO?
Genetically modified organism.
Those
how they're making food
making
these days.
food these days, right? To sustain shelf life. Those tomatoes that you eat, if they're still good after 2 weeks, you're probably gonna have some problems digesting them. So there's just all kinds of information out there, things that we need to know about. And we thank you so much for being with us this evening. This is a 2-part show, so please make sure that you see both parts. We're probably going to interchange them, A and B. So you know this comes on Sunday nights at 6 p.m., so we'll probably do the A part and the B part, and then we'll do the A part and the B part again, so that you get a chance to see both shows if you watch it for 2 Sundays. So you have been great. Thank you for hanging in there with us. We love you dearly, and support community coalitions. Get your voice out there. Don't die on the vine. There's just too much to be done. Many blessings. Love you a lot. We'll see you again real soon.